I really believe when you live into the stuff that you're meant for, I think there are ways to create forms of abundance in your life through that. I think that's really important for anybody starting a business, that you don't come from a place of desperation. I think people feel that. And I think if you are in that place, it will oftentimes require that you have to be somebody else, or maybe go against something that you really want to do or feels authentic to you, because you're like, shit, how am I going to make rent next month?
We were just talking about DMT. What's funny is I'm also the person in my I'm also the person in my like world where like as soon as somebody asks me something where it's like, what's your weird view on life? I usually say stuff that just people are like, okay, like
Yep.
got it. Usually
Nothing to
it's
say.
usually I'm like, yeah, like have you heard of machine elves? You know? They're like,
Yeah, exactly.
no. Or have you
Exactly.
okay, so you're DMT familiar, so why don't we dive right in? Have you heard about the theory have you seen the laser thing? The laser guy? DMT
No.
laser guy? Oh my god, there's a guy whose whole like purpose on the internet is to inform everybody about like how if you do DMT, there's like a repeatable experiment that everyone needs to do where you like shine a laser on a wall. And if you look at the laser on the wall, you see all of these like hieroglyphic encoded things. But he's like,
Wow.
but everyone sees the same thing. And
It's
so
wild.
usually there's like a lot of dynamic variability in DMT
Yeah.
experiences, but he's like the way that we can prove that there's like a repeatable systemic like place that anyone can see this kind of might have some scientific application is
Yeah.
like you shine this type of laser on your wall and you like I don't know, he's like I think it might be like the code of the fabric of reality or something.
I swear I've had those
Yeah.
experiences like where, well, my one of my first experiences with this was not with DMT. I was partaking in some other psychedelics, but I remember seeing all of these different patterns, and I kept telling my partner, I'm seeing this pattern, and for some reason I have this like very deep knowing that it's the blueprint of all of creation. And they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just, it's in everything. And I just kept saying that. I said, it's in everything. It's in everything. And then this is before I ever like dove into sacred geometry, which I'm not like very well versed in sacred geometry, but I knew absolutely nothing about it at this time. And so I start looking for the
Mhm.
pattern online because I'm like, I need to understand like what this is, why I keep seeing it, and why I keep feeling like it is the blueprint of all of creation. And
Mm.
so I finally like find the pattern as I'm like, I think I typed in like geometrical patterns and then came across something about sacred geometry and then started doing a deep dive into sacred geometry. And then I found the flower of life and I was like, that was it. And then I read this was believed by ancient people to be the blueprint of all of creation. And I was like, what the
Dang.
fuck is happening? I was
Mm.
like so taken aback because it was the like deep inner knowing that I had was like also what I was reading. And I was like, this is so trippy.
Mm.
But yeah, it's weird. It's like
So
super weird to have some of these experiences and
what did
like
you do with that? Like did that inform your path after that? Like have you has it changed anything?
I got some tattoos that
Yeah.
I got this tattoo has like some of the
Oh, that's
patterns
cool.
and stuff in it. Has it informed my path? Like yes and no. I think I now feel that I have this belief that we're all just made up of the same shit. And I think that informs how I treat other people and how I just go through my life in a lot of ways. And like, while I believe, like, yes, that this idea of like being made up of the same shit is like, kind of tied to that blueprint, I also believe, like, just generally, we're actually like all just made up of the same shit. Like
Mm.
our genetic material is like so 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 similar to like so many other species. It's like off by, like 0.1% or something. And regardless of even like genetic material, I just like go through life being like, I think everybody's generally trying their best. And are
Mm.
there like people that are maybe not and like actually bad people or actually like malicious in some way, like yeah, but like I go through the life with the basic assumption that like we're all made up of the same shit, we're all trying our best, we're all trying to figure out this like weird thing that we call the human existence.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not trying to like try to like release judgments, I think, based on like that core belief that we are all made up of the same shit. That's
That's
the
good.
only way I know how to like explain maybe how it's informed how I go
Mm-hmm.
about my life. I think I was, I was already kind of doing that before, but I think even more so, I just had this like deep understanding that like I'm just not any different than like anybody else. And I think coming from a place of feeling like everybody around you is also just a reflection of who you are and maybe the parts of yourself that you don't see as clearly is also a really cool way to like step into more compassion for people that you don't understand. And that's helped me in like so many areas of my life.
Mm. Well, you're obviously dope as fuck, and I'm curious how you found Skool. Your first group was like, that I remember, was a psychedelic group, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you have a different group now, and you're involved in other things, I think as well. But how'd you find Skool? Get to where you are now? Like, how's that? Because this platform feels a bit different to me. I like hanging out with people in
Yeah.
Skool, and I'm curious
Mm-hmm.
what that is. What that is for you? How you found it? What you think of it?
Yeah, it is. It does feel different for some reason. It's like
Mm-hmm.
hard to put. I think it's been generally hard for me to like put my finger on like what makes Skool feel so different. But something I was talking about recently is I feel like, first of all, anything with like community as the center of its model, I think is just going to like inherently feel a little different. We're wired for connection. And I think if you're building something that's like, hey, bring people together and like do the whole connection thing, it's just going to feel different. So
Mm-hmm.
I like that about it. I also think the leadership on Skool makes a huge impact on it's like the trickle down effect, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
people that are actually leading this thing and creating this thing and building this thing, I think are showing up in ways that they're really great examples. Like Sam is out here like constantly getting opinions about like the direction that he wants to go in. And I mean, I'm sure you have this experience. Sometimes he'll message me and my fiance and be like, what do you guys think about this new feature that we're thinking about rolling out? And it's like having somebody that's like very involved, I think, with the people that are using the product, I think also makes it really feel good. It feels like you're a part of
Mm-hmm.
it. It makes you feel like, oh, cool. Like I'm also helping build this thing. So I think they
Mm.
do a really great job of that, which makes it feel different to me. How I
Yeah.
found it, yeah, it's hard for me to say. I don't even remember. I think the original way that I discovered it was through somebody else that was running a community that I joined, and then kind of started playing around with it, but wasn't really like plugged into Skool
Mm-hmm.
until maybe like 1 year ago, a little less actually than a year ago. And I created a group. I ran a microdosing program that people could go through to integrate microdosing and also go through some like deeper like mindset shifts. I did a lot of work around belief shifting and pattern disruption and stuff like that. So I decided to bring that program onto Skool and help people to be also plugged into community while going through this program, which I thought was a really important piece of it. So that's kind of how I came into it. And yeah, more recently, I've been doing a lot of work around helping nurses start their own online businesses and stuff like that, which has been super fun. That's my story. It's coming
Mm-hmm.
from bedside nursing and then going into online business and being like, holy shit, where has this been all my life? And now
Mm.
I want to like show all of my nurses that also want to leave bedside nursing, like, oh, you could do this other thing. Because I think a
Mm.
lot of nurses are burnt out and a little bit miserable, if I'm honest, like
Yeah.
feeling like they have nowhere else to go. So they just have to stay in this career path that's like sucking their soul dry. And I'm like, you don't have to.
Is it what is the like all bedside nurses? Does that mean like an at home nurse? or
No, bedside is
in
actually in the hospital setting.
okay. I'd never
Yeah.
go to the doctor or hospital, and I don't know a lot of those terms. So,
Yeah.
bedside nurse is just a nurse then?
Yeah, that's a great point that you bring up because I'm like, you know what? People probably don't actually know what that means. So, I mean, there's
Bedside.
obviously like plenty of career paths that you could go down as a nurse, but probably the most common is a bedside nurse, which is somebody that works in a hospital setting at the bedside, like they're actually working with patients directly.
Hmm.
You can also work, in like utilization management or like in remote work where you review people's charts and do audits and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. You could also work in a clinic or in a doctor's office and things like that. But those aren't considered bedside jobs. Those are considered like other forms of nursing. So when we say
Hmm.
bedside nursing, we're referring to like what people usually think of when they think of the nursing field, which is working in a hospital setting.
Hmm. What's wildly embarrassing is that I actually run a telemedicine company and I don't know that. I just realized like I should know this, but I've never worked in the
Yeah,
physical
it's different.
place, and it's all been remote and marketing, and it's like we have nurses and doctors, but everyone's online. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I don't expect you to know.
I'm
I think you're
curious.
off the hook.
So you're like a skater nurse online person. You have an interesting variety. How did you like go from your like? So how did you find the skate community? Because that's how I feel like we've been hanging out lately. Is we're both in the skate community. Both
Mhm.
kind of help with the skate community. So
Yeah, that's
what
true.
what did you do to get in there?
I've been yeah, I've been skating since I was like 11. I learned how to skate from my cousin and basically from the time I got on a board, I was like, "Oh my God, this is it. This is what I'm going to do with my whole life." And I thought I
Mm,
was going to go on to be a pro skateboarder and I have gotten like several sponsorships and that's been really cool, but I did stop skateboarding for about like 11, maybe 12 years between 14 and like 25 or so. So didn't go on to pursue my professional skateboarding career goals, but it
mm-hmm.
is a huge passion of mine still and probably always will be. I was just skating yesterday. I decided to start taking Wednesdays off to go skate because I have been like just all in, with the whole
Mm-hmm.
business thing that sometimes I forget to go do the things that I love outside of that. So
Yeah.
yes, Wednesdays are going to be my skate days, but I got plugged in to Skate Life, which is Greg Let's Go's community, actually through
You
Ryan
got
Duncan.
dunked. Yeah, you got
Yeah,
dunked.
got dunked. Yeah,
I
Ryan and
wish
I were talking.
I wish I had a sound effect for this because Ryan comes up
That would
so
be
much.
so good.
I could just drop him on the screen and be like dunked, but I don't have one.
Yes. Yeah, like a little
Yeah.
swish of the net or something. That'd be cool.
Oh, there you go.
That'd be
Little
sick.
animation where Ryan's tall ass like flies into the screen and dunks.
Okay, we
Um,
have to make this.
we do have to do
We
this.
have to.
He's like 7 feet tall. I met him in person in LA. He's like 6'10".
Yeah,
Surprisingly, he's
that's
like one of those
insane.
people that it just doesn't compute. You go from internet to that. You're like, what the fuck? Didn't know you're like a
But it's crazy
professional
because
basketball player.
his girlfriend's like also super tall, so it doesn't
Both
seem like
tall.
he would be that tall until those two are next to other people, and then you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh no, you're both just crazy tall.
Two giants. Yeah, two very tall people.
Yeah,
Um,
Ryan plugged me in though. He found out I
nice.
skated. I was like, I don't know. I think I was asking about Skate Life or something. He's like, yeah, you want to admin for it? And I was like, I'm down. I'm
Sounds
trying to
very
learn Skool and get plugged in more. And also, like,
yeah.
I don't know. I think I was really, really intrigued and wanted to learn everywhere that I could and be able to be plugged in wherever I could as well. So it was cool. Very cool connection. Greg and Ryan and I have been like in a WhatsApp. So we'll talk about the Skate Life crew and stuff. It's fun.
Mm-hmm. It's fun. What is your like? So what is your current what's your current like group setup? How's everything going in your school group right now?
Yeah, I have like a bunch. So it depends which one you're talking about.
So many
My
groups. Let me
so
look.
many. My fiance and I run. I transferred ownership to my fiance, so it didn't look like I owned 5,000 groups like I like I did at one point.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I transferred ownership to my fiance recently for our queer community that we started, basically just bringing people together that are queer and want wholesome community outside of the bar scene. You know, a lot of queer folks that we were talking to for a long time, we were in a lot of conversations where we just kept hearing the same things over and over again from people, where they're like, we want to connect in the community, but we also don't want to be going out all the time, but that's the only place that like it seems like queer folks are connecting is like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, going to the bars or going to the club, things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we were like, what if we just create something that's not that? Because like obviously people want that, and we've had enough conversations to know that. So we created a group that does a lot of in-person stuff actually. So we
Mm.
do, yeah, that's
Oh, you
us.
do a lot
That's
of in-person stuff. That's cool.
we do, yeah, because I think that's really what people are like longing for, you know. They're
Yeah.
mostly trying to get inside communities that are doing other things outside of just drinking and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll do, yeah, we're gonna do like a park hang soon. I think we're gonna have people bring art supplies and stuff and just hang out at this park that overlooks the water in San Diego. It's really beautiful. It's called
Mm.
Kate Sessions. So we've
That's cool.
done like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of all the events we've done. We've done a potluck in our backyard. We've done like a vision board night. We've done hikes with the group, which was really cool.
That's
And
cool.
then we also do some virtual stuff. Most of our people are in San Diego. That's like where our kind of hub is. But we have
Mm-hmm.
people all over as well. So our goal is that it eventually becomes chapters and people can host their own in person events through the different chapters. So that's one of our communities. Another is Evolve, which is more of like my personal development community. And then I
Mm-hmm.
have my primary business, which is NursePreneur Lab. And
Mm-hmm.
NursePreneur Lab is where I'm helping nurses learn how to start their own online businesses so that they can leave bedside. Primarily coaching practices is what they're starting, but
Mm-hmm.
I've worked with a few different folks that are doing some other things as well. But it's a
In your
blast.
Nurspreneur Lab group, this one is public.
Hmm.
I don't see a lot of public groups. That's cool. Why'd
Yeah,
you decide to make it public?
mostly just for the SEO stuff. Sometimes I'll try to be honest, I don't optimize this enough probably, but I have I have tried to make posts inside the group that I think will like also show up with things people are searching for nurse coaching stuff.
Yeah.
Nurse coaching is kind of a new, it's like, it's not new, but it's kind of a new field where it's a particular form of coaching that it's the only coaching that has a board certification exam. So,
Mm,
as a nurse coach, you can actually be board certified by an overseeing regulatory body. So,
mm,
there's a, you know, regulatory body of nurses that oversee this exam to make people, I guess, extra legit. I don't know. You get some extra letters behind your name and stuff if you go through
mm-hmm,
the program, but it's kind of a new field, and not a lot of people are helping these nurses that are going through these certification programs to figure out how to actually create a business after they get the certification. And it was a huge gap that I saw. Like, so many people are going through this program and then they're like wildly disappointed that they are
mm,
in the same exact place when they started the program, because the program teaches you how to hold space and how to be a coach, but it doesn't really teach you how to actually show that to the world and bring people into your realm to eventually have clientele. And so
mm,
my piece of the puzzle is kind of filling in that gap of like going from a certification program to actually having a successful online business. And it's really fun for me. I like didn't know that I was into business strategy until
mm-hmm.
like, I don't know, I would say like in the last 6 to 8 months, I was like, this is really fun for me. I want to start teaching this stuff. And I started like here and there, just kind of dipping my toes in. And it just kind of started spreading. It was honestly really cool to have a bunch of people just seemingly fall into my lap and fall into my realm that wanted this kind of help. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's grown pretty fast.
I get that. I feel like school is kind of like that for me too. Like I never really was hanging out with this many people and
Yeah,
being the face and the informer, but it is really fun. It's fun to like teach people stuff, and you get
it
better
is.
teaching. And
Yep.
like, yeah, can you tell me
Yeah.
about this freaking awesome photo? Where are you in this photo that I was looking at here? Oh my gosh, where is this?
Oh yeah.
Where is
That is
this?
in that is in Alder, Washington, kind of by Mount Rainier.
Oh
It was
yeah.
a little cabin that we were staying in, and it was super cool because I run this program called NursePreneur Accelerator,
Mm-hmm.
and it's basically nurses that want to get really serious about starting their own coaching practice and making it successful. So I was on one of our group calls, and I was like, look at this, you guys. And like on the
Mm-hmm.
group call, I show them the views. And it's cool because it's like also the stuff that a lot of them are wanting to go into online business because they want to be able to do shit like that, like
Mm-hmm.
travel and work from anywhere and stuff like that. So it was really cool to be able to inspire them in that way and be like, this is what you're going after. And we had a blast out there. It was really fun, super peaceful. I remember like sitting on the porch one morning. I was just like listening to like all the noises around me, like the birds and the little insects and stuff. And I was like, when's the last time I've just sat and like just listened, you know? It's very
Yeah,
nice.
it's hard to take a break sometimes. I feel like I've been in a bit of a like yeah, just like a sprint, you know? I feel like I'll like go really fast for a while and then I'll cut back and then I'll go really
Yeah.
fast and
Yeah.
feel like I often realize like I need to take a breath, like I need to take a break. And
Yeah.
yeah. And I live in the woods, so it should be easier, but it's like still I stay
Yeah.
inside. I press buttons.
Yeah.
How do you find like how do you find balance in working and in playing? Are you like a work mode person where you just go hard all the time, or do you take a lot of breaks? What's your mix?
Oh man, yeah, it's hard. I do go hard a lot of the time. And I also recognize that that doesn't work for me. So, more recently, I've been doing this thing where I block off my calendar and it's great.
Mm,
I like I have Wednesdays from I think 9 a.m. to like 1 or 2 p.m. I have every Wednesday blocked off right now from that time frame, and it just is my like skate session block.
mm,
So if I don't want to skate, I guess I could do anything I want, but a lot of the time I'm like, yeah, let's go skate, that'd be fun. So that's what we did yesterday for that block of time. And something else that I'm implementing is taking like once a quarter, just like a weekend to not think about anything, which is really hard for me to do, like super hard for me to do. And then I also want to do like one or two longer stints away every year. So
mm-hmm,
just having like different blocks, like, I mean, yeah, weekly, I have the block on Wednesday. Um, Quarterly, I have I try to have like a more extended weekend type of thing. And then annually, I'll do like one or two big trips away. The key is like actually making sure those blocks are like blocked. I can block
yeah,
them in my schedule, but that might not mean that I'm not working. So
mm-hmm,
it's like actually being on top of that I think is the hard part, which is actually a quality problem, I think, because I love what I do and I love like being engaged with my work. So in a way, I'm kind of like, I'm grateful that it's
mm-hmm,
hard for me to be away because it reminds me that I actually love what I do. Whereas when I was working as a nurse in the hospital setting, I'm like counting down the minutes till I can leave. And
mm-hmm,
before my shift, I'm like gripping the steering wheel, like white knuckling it, being like, okay, how many minutes until I have to like walk towards that hospital door? Because
mm-hmm,
holy shit, I'm about to be doing this thing for another 12 hours. That's how long my shifts were. And the 12-hour shifts are grueling, not just because they're long, but because like every minute of them is just chaos.
mm-hmm,
So it's cool to be able to like reflect on that and be like, yeah, now I'm at a place in my life. I actually really love what I do, and it's hard for me to stay away from it. Whereas before, it was really hard for me to even walk in the door because I hated it so much. So
Mm.
it's a pretty cool contrast, I'd say.
What is your schedule like normally outside of the Wednesday block? Are you scheduling a lot of stuff, or you go with the flow every day? Are you a mix?
I do a lot of calls. Like, I'm on a lot of calls throughout the week, either
Mm-hmm.
with clients that we're working with or with potential clients who want to figure out if they want to work with us. I just brought on a team member, so she's kind of helping me get some of my time back, which is
Mm,
awesome. Even
nice.
like being able to go to Washington and be away for a while. I told her when I got back, I was like, it felt so good to know that like you had things under control, and I want more of that, you know?
Yeah.
So it was really cool to be able to, that was kind of the first time that I've like gone away and felt like I could relinquish everything. I still have issues with control. I'm still a little bit of a control freak, but
It's kind of, I feel like that's kind of typical of school, of the types that
yeah.
are like us on School. It's like kind of how
Yeah.
Ryan is. Most
Yeah.
admins, people that run these things, they kind of have this effect, I've noticed. It's not like a
Mhm.
lot of truly go with the flow types. Like I try to be this way, but I'm like not. I'm actually like
Yeah.
totally insane and like I basically have a very hard time every day not like telling my team exactly how to do everything they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then I'm like write a post on School and I'm like, yo Zen, like go with the flow, like let go guys. Like it's like I basically am not the way that like the message of the things I say is just like the shit I'm trying to figure out usually. And so
That's dude, that's how
yeah.
how it is for all of us, I think.
Yeah.
You're a good energy though. I get the vibe I get from you is like it's like a nice warm cup of tea when you're winding down for the evening. Like that's the vibe I get. Actually, you know what it's like? It's like when you're at a party and like things are really chaos and people are breaking shit and whatnot, and then you like find like this kind of room. It's like a hideout that people are like just chilling and smoking a joint in, and you're like, oh my god, like some peace
Mm,
for a second. And you find out like you can actually just go in this room and chill with people and hang out for a second and
mm.
like get away from a lot of the stimulation and smoke a joint and just be vibing. That's what I feel like you are. Like
That's the
Devin is
best.
that. Devin is
That's
that
the
hideout room for
best.
me.
Man, that's pretty on point as far as how I want to be. So that's cool. I feel
Yeah.
like also you're so San Diego. You're like the chillest, like smoking joints in back rooms is one of the things that I feel like I think of when I think of what I did and what I
Yeah.
do when I go to San Diego.
The
Like
rest
what
of
I,
school feels like the like raging party to me. And
yeah,
then like there's the kind of like group, like you being one of them, that I found that feels like that little hideout space where we're just like
yeah.
chilling and smoking a joint.
Well, I think you have to like figure out how to make money without taking everything like super seriously because it sucks to have to take everything really seriously, like I think is what it comes down
Yeah.
to. I feel like I've done that for a while, did it, and it's just kind of like it becomes really boring and then
Yeah.
don't want to do it anymore. Don't want to be known for that either. Like, oh, cool, all these boring people like want to
Yeah.
hang out.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so it's just kind of like not I don't know, it's just I can't do it anymore, you know? Like somebody
Yeah.
was posted on School yesterday or today and they're just like what is your biggest piece of advice? And I was just like, smoke weed every day. I don't, you know, I feel like it's can't, I just like,
Yeah.
there's too many like
Like chill
fluffy,
the fuck out. I don't
too many
know.
like, it's like, don't you know what people would say to the,
Hmm.
my Siri just responded to me. I feel like it's like just, I don't, there's so many answers to the question of like, what's your number one piece of advice? Like on the internet, it's like,
Hmm.
why are we still asking this question to each other? Do you need
Yeah.
to know like what 10 random people on School have to say about this question, really? Like, what
Yeah.
is going on?
Yeah.
Um,
I know. We want to have like different conversations, I feel, which is like that is kind of what the Devin school group is. I feel like it's us having weird
Yeah,
conversations.
it's totally a strange experiment. I still don't know what it is. Every now and then I think about posting something and then I'm like, no, I'm gonna like, I'm gonna wait it out.
I have a
Um,
question that we should.
yeah,
I might post this in in the Devin school.
yeah. Let's
Um,
hear it.
as we move closer to like merging with AI, I'm very curious. Like, if consciousness is okay, how do I
It's a
even
good
like
topic. Yeah,
explain this? So,
yeah.
if consciousness is like this thing that connects us all, but it's being expressed through our senses, like, or we're rather experiencing it through our five senses, and it's being expressed through each of our individuality. What if we are living in like some kind of simulation that maybe is just code? I wonder if the closer we get to merging with AI, the closer we are getting to like merging with just like consciousness itself back to our original form, which maybe could just be code if we are all living in a
Mm-hmm.
simulation. Like that's kind of the stuff that I'm like interested in talking about these days.
Yeah,
Like DMT being a technology that's used by parallel realities to communicate with humans in a post biological form. I don't know,
yeah.
shit like
I
that, you know?
I love that stuff. I think about how like we really just don't understand like non-carbon based things,
Yeah.
but those things are like there's also like universes of those things that we know are
Mhm.
there. I think
Yeah.
about that. I think about how like there's this like the computer stuff is like this silicone stuff. We like know that. But because we're not silicone stuff, like we're carbon stuff, we just don't know how that really thinks and works. Even the people building like the LLM models, like they're
Mhm.
basically just like, we don't even know how this is happening. They just don't
Dude,
even know how it's happening.
you've
And
got to
so,
check out this podcast.
what podcast are we talking
There
about?
Oh my god, dude. There's this episode that Diary of a CEO just put out, and
Oh
the
yeah,
episode is an
the Replit
emergency
founder.
debate. Yes. It's him
Yeah.
with an evolutionary biologist and Daniel Priestley. You know who Daniel Priestley is?
Mm-mm.
He's a entrepreneur. He created Score app and does a lot of,
Mm.
you know, merging and acquisition stuff amongst big companies. But anyways,
Yeah.
it's the three of them along with Steven. They have this emergency debate about the, you know, it's like the banana curve of AI, where like we're kind of in the middle of the banana right now, where it's like
Mm-hmm.
things are exploding really fast. And are we as a species equipped for what we're about to like be stepping into? And it was a really interesting conversation, particularly because the evolutionary biologist brought up a lot of good and also kind of scary points about what we may be strapping in for.
Mm.
And obviously, the tech entrepreneur has like a lot of optimism around what AI is becoming,
Yeah.
but I think fails to see what could happen. So, anyways, it was just a really interesting conversation. I
Mm.
think you'd like it a lot.
It was on my feed today on X, and I'm trying to find it. I watched a couple of like 30-second clips and thought it was really interesting
Yeah.
because I feel like the conversation is largely about jobs and automation, agents and stuff like that. But this seemed like it was hitting different for people, so I'll have to check this
Yeah.
out.
I mean, the evolutionary biologist brings up the point of like when you're a baby, like, do you really have consciousness, or is it something that you learn through developing like perception of the world around you and language and things like this? And if that's the case, then isn't that exactly what AI is doing? And so he's like very convinced that AI
Mm.
is on its way to developing consciousness, which I was like, I can't think about it. My brain's like gonna explode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like yeah, I feel like it's quite possible for sure.
Yeah.
Like I think that there's more to the consciousness thing than the naysaying people that are like, no, it's just nothing. But I don't know if it's like we're in the matrix or anything.
Yeah.
I think we probably are in the matrix in some kind of way that you could say, yeah, see, we're in the matrix. But I don't know if it's exactly like we are code and
Yeah.
this is us.
I don't
I
either.
don't know. I don't
I
know.
think that's the cool thing about it is like
Mm-hmm.
no one fucking knows. That's great.
Yeah.
What about you? How did you stop taking life and business so seriously? What was kind of, did you have
Yeah.
like a moment or was it just over time?
It was kind of a moment, I would say. I feel like whenever we had a baby, I mean,
Mm,
kind of was a moment. I
yeah.
think before that, there was a lot more like seriousness to to things. It was like, this has to make money, so I have to like at least play the part that makes me money. And then I think when we had a baby, I was like, oh, there's it was an event. It was like we had a home birth and
Mm,
watched watched a person being born and
wow.
energy of that for like a 9 hour span is pretty. It was basically a psychedelic experience and
Yeah.
like it just was very, it was very similar to watch like my wife basically be in like another state of mind and to
Mm,
see um yeah, to see sort of a child emerge. And then from
yeah.
there, it just continues to get crazy because you do watch like a person become a person and you're like, holy shit, everything I do, you can kind of see have an effect on a person. And
Yeah.
so I feel like I started to look at the world differently because I feel like we all continue to influence each other on that
Mm,
level with everything that we put out there, whether we
yeah.
like think it has a big impact or little impact. Like everyone is doing that with everybody. And so I just felt like I've always loved the movie Pinocchio, nerdy
Yeah.
and very nerdy, but like it's because the core concept of the movie is that like we are tempted into like becoming actors and like
Mm,
pretending in life. It's the biggest
yeah.
temptation in life is
Yeah.
like you won't be yourself. And I think that's right. I think it's like we act like these things that like get us more money or like make us more accepted. And I feel like if I reflect back on like me compromising that,
Mm,
it's never been like for the good of my story or like the world around me is
yeah.
like the way that that made everybody else. And
Yeah.
so I don't know, I think like typically artists, I respect artists because it's like you're just trying to be yourself. um Really, you're just like trying to find what it is that you think and you're like
Yeah.
unashamedly just gonna do that publicly, is what I see kind of as
Mm,
artistry. And
yeah.
it's super challenging. That's why the second I saw you and I was like, oh, we're gonna hang out. That's why I was like, oh fuck marketing. Like the second we were hanging out, I had just done like a 1.5 hour call about
Yeah.
like here's how we files and ads and we spend and there's these things. These are the truths of the way that like the foundation of business work. And even though it's this human call where we're all being super chill, the fuck marketing part of me is just like, it's just like it's hard to I feel like I have to move from like a
Mm,
marketing mode to an artist mode.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just want to be in artist mode. I don't really ever
Yeah.
want to do marketing. But in my
I think,
experience, it doesn't really make, it hasn't ever really like paid the bills to be an artist unless you've
yeah.
already paid the bills for a while and now you can like
Yeah.
transition. So like
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Well, I think there's like, it's the both and, right? Like, in order to live into your passions and like do more of them, you also have to be able to do that. And like you probably feel the weight of that even more so, like caring for a child. It's like, yeah, I want to make sure this kid is like got food and shelter and all of that stuff. Like, where I think, we're biologically wired for security and safety in those ways. So I think that's the part of us that's like, yeah, we do like logistically have to focus on some of these things. And
Mm-hmm.
then, yeah, it's just the both and, right? Like, then I've been thinking a lot about the concept of non duality and like letting things that seem contradictory exist together. And actually, like, it's really uncomfy because it feels like, they're like this. It's like,
Mm.
well, in what ways can we help these concepts go from doing more of this to doing more of this? Like, in what ways can we help them merge? And with stuff that you're talking about, it's like, yeah, how do we merge like helping people succeed in the online world of business and make sure that we're also like helping people live into what's fulfilling for them and aligning with like who they really are as a person and the values that they want to live by and things like that. I find that's a really hard line to walk sometimes, and I don't know what to do about it. I
Yeah.
don't have the answers. I'm just trying to figure out like what does non-duality look like for me, holding space for both of those truths.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any like recent times where you were just in the thick of like figuring that out? And I'm curious like how you handle it when you're
Well, I'm always
with people.
trying to talk with my clients about what are we optimizing for? Like, do you want to build a business that's optimized for making a lot of money, or do you want to build a business that's optimized for fulfillment in your life? Because how they answer that question is probably going to determine how I help them build it. And that's
Mm.
just the reality of it. Like, if we're optimizing for money, I'm probably going to help you build this in a different way than if we're optimizing just for you living into your passion and like what really brings you to life. But then there's this other realm of like, what if I want both,
Mm-hmm.
And what do we do with that? And I think it's possible. Like, I really believe when you live into the stuff that you're meant for, I think there are ways to create like forms of abundance in your life through that. And I think if you truly just like choose to be yourself in front of the right people, they'll vibe with that and resonate with that and be like, oh, I want to experience more of this person because I really resonate with their energy and what they bring to the table. And for coaching, that can work really well because it's like,
Mm-hmm.
that's what you're, in a way, that's kind of like what you're trying to do. You're not just helping people solve problems, although that's a big part of it. You're also showing who you are and why you are the person to do that and help them and guide them. And if you're hiding behind a facade of somebody else, then the right people aren't going to be able to find you. But if you do
Mm-hmm.
choose to kind of show up as you, then the people that are meant for you and will vibe with you and resonate with your energy will be able to find you because you're not hiding behind something. So I think there is a way, but I like I'd be lying if I said I didn't wrestle with it like on a weekly basis,
Mm-hmm.
It's just it is the non-duality. It's the both
Yeah.
and.
I feel like business, like the purpose of business for me, probably in the last year, since finding Skool specifically, has become like it almost like an obsession with like, can you scale like a completely pure effort without any like compromising, without any additional shit that you don't want to do? And how would you do that? Like, how do I never take a sales call, and how do we not have a sales team, and how do we like inspire people in ads, and then
Yeah.
how do we? It's like in it's really hard because you kind of like just like slowly tying yourself up like in this race where you're like trying to beat other people, and
Hmm.
every time you take the higher ground you're like, oh, there goes my leg.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have to kind of figure out how to be like a ninja in this way of navigating that. And it's kind of this obsession, which is like, I think AI has been sort of a tool that's kind of exciting
Hmm.
in like that sense, because it like lets you amplify messages and potentially like I think one big piece of the whole, I don't know, how to be yourself as a business
Hmm.
is just like getting the most eyeballs. And so I feel like historically the people that get the most eyeballs are the most like persuasive and the best at sales.
Yeah.
And I actually feel like with the like with the way people, for instance, on TikTok are like growing by like creating a whole bunch of TikTok accounts and then
Hmm.
just like blasting shit out into the world like on 100 accounts every day, um, through like sheer quantity. It's like
Yeah.
that could help anybody. So
Yeah.
that for me, like I think there's almost like a the ethics are different for like
Hmm.
using methods that work that are like against a company's policy for
Yeah.
people that are artists.
Yeah.
And I'm like kind of for that. I feel like
Yeah.
There's like a Robin Hood world of like how can we help the underdogs win?
Yeah.
What the hell do we have to do? And that's something that's like really interesting to me. Is finding
Mm.
those like tools and methods
Yeah.
that like level the playing field.
Yeah. I think getting more eyeballs is huge. I was just telling my accelerator group yesterday, I sent them all the Instagram post that Layla Hermosi had posted. I don't know if she posted it yesterday, but I came across it yesterday. She posted how she met Alex on a dating app.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, her post is the entire story of, how Layla and Alex Hermosi met on a dating app. And she literally ties it into it basically just being a numbers game. She was like, well, I figured like if I wanted to find somebody I could spend my life with, that like if I swiped for a certain amount of minutes every single day, and then I set myself up with a certain amount of dates every week, and then I went on, however many a year, that like eventually I'd probably come across somebody that I'd vibe with and want to spend my life with. And I was like, you know, they're extremely logical human beings. Like they're not like, romanticizing dating, which is expected. But they're very
Mm-hmm.
much like, it's just a numbers game. Like you swipe a certain amount of times and you'll eventually find the person. And I'm like, that's an interesting approach to dating. But I do see a lot of the parallels with business, which is like, and this is what I was telling my clients. I'm like, if you have a certain amount of conversations with strangers, like you almost want to make it like statistically impossible to have at least not one of them vibe with you enough to be like, I really want to work with you. Like, not only because of the offer that you have, but because I really like resonate with you in this conversation. And I want to explore what it could look like to like deepen this relationship in a business sense. So
Mm-hmm.
it was an interesting parallel, but I thought like, man, it really is just a numbers game. Like you have enough conversations, eventually you'll resonate with somebody that comes
Mm-hmm.
across you and likes what you have to offer and likes who you are and how you show up with the energy that you have and things like that. And so if you're looking to, I think, be in alignment with your values and who you really are while doing business, I think in a way you almost have to see it as a numbers game, which I think means that maybe the initial piece of getting the business off the ground is kind of a grind. Like it's going to be a lot, especially in
Mm-hmm.
the first year. Like if you're just
Mm-hmm.
talking to a crazy amount of people all the time, just getting on calls all the time. At the same time, I personally am like, I'd probably take that over like having to be somebody else and like present something that doesn't really feel aligned with me to just get the next buck. And I
Mm-hmm.
also think it's a privilege to not have to do that. Like when I went into online business, I had set myself up in a way where I wasn't going to be desperate to like make a sale or anything. And I think that's really important for anybody starting a business, that you don't come from a place of desperation. I think people feel that And I think if you are in that place, it will oftentimes require that you have to be somebody else, or maybe go against something that you really want to do or feels authentic to you, because you're like, shit, how am I going to make rent next month? You know?
Mm,
And like, you just don't want to be coming from that place. So I set myself up in such a way with other assets that I have, like some rental properties and stuff, a fair amount of savings and things like that, so that I didn't ever have to be in that position. I think that was really important to me.
mm-hmm,
And I also think it served me well, because like all of my clients are like, yeah, I just really vibed with you, you know? And I'm like,
mm-hmm,
sweet. That's actually much rather like you be down to come into a program that I'm running, not because I promised you some crazy guarantee and whatever, but like because we developed a connection and you felt like you could trust me enough to like go through this journey together.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like I feel like there's a level of quality that you have to have, but you also have to have quantity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the things we talk about a lot on my team is like we usually there's like really one of two things to work on all the time. It's like do we have to get the quality up or do we have to get the quantity up? Because they both need to
Yeah.
be really high. And like right
Yep.
now, we're moving to quality. We were working on quantity for a couple of months where we just like it just slaps back and forth all the time.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the one quarterly ask, I'd say. It's not like on an official rotation, but it feels like there's some kind of like clockwork because there's like a grind to each of them. Like we figured out how to output a ton of stuff, but we
Mm.
realized that a lot of it sucks. So it's like, well, we have to fix the quality now, and so we'll
Yeah.
fix the quality. And by the time we fix the quality, like that quantity probably won't be enough anymore. So
Yeah.
there's a natural rhythm to these things, and I feel
Yeah.
like this is true in um business. Like online
Yeah.
business is kind of like that dance permanently. It's
Yeah.
like realizing your quality or your quantity is insufficient and you're
Yeah.
always trying to figure out the mix.
Yeah.
And
I
yeah.
don't know. You've had some pretty quality stuff. What about This Is Not a Tomato?
Yeah, that one did
That,
pretty good. That one brought
that,
in some sales.
that was sick. That was sick. That was quality.
That was quality. That was I don't know what happened. I think we were like what happened was I think it was like on a Sunday. It's usually on a Saturday or Sunday. I
Yeah.
like send 1,000 messages into like a channel about an idea, and I had like built out a Pinterest board of like ads from the 80s. And I was like, these are awesome. Have you guys seen these? And we all
I
just
need to see
started
this Pinterest board.
yeah, we all just started exchanging these ads, these nostalgic ads. And one of them I think was like this is not a banana or something like that. It might have even been this is not a tomato. But a lot of
Nice.
those ads kind of created all the ad sets that we built
Mm,
for the next month.
so
And
sick.
everyone on the team built their own little Pinterest boards.
Nice.
And I think that's where this is not a tomato came from. So this is one of
Nice.
them. Like a lot of this isn't an ad,
Repent your sins.
just an old just a lot of old stuff.
Is that an ad for repenting or what? Like,
I think I actually just like the structure. I was like, ooh, I like two signs,
it's
blank
so good.
guy,
That's
super
so good.
old. I think that was just like a
Oh
structural,
man.
but it was like I like the old stuff. I was like, it works better, it costs less. End
Yeah.
of ad. It was very
So simple.
it was like a different time that
Oh man, it's
like
so simple
these
too. I love it.
idea, make an ad so obvious even the client's wife will actually get it. Um, it's just
It's
like written on
crazy.
a thing. My favorite
That
one.
is that is so crazy that like that was the ad. What year was that ad?
Oh, good question. See if we can find it. Mm,
Misogynistic bullshit.
is it this one? No,
No, it
this is
was
close, but it's different one. Okay, it's the same company. So dumb. People actually want to look at the bottom to see who the heck paid for this shit. It's good. So it's
Oh
the
my
same.
God. I need that.
Yeah.
That's so good.
And this is kind of what spawned like a lot of our new brand. It was just like simple is probably better.
Yes. Yes.
um,
Oh,
I don't
that's such a
know.
good one for graphic designers too. That one's so
Yeah.
good. I've seen
I
that.
think the question now when we make ads is like what's the simplest thing we can make where people like actually, smile. That like it's
Yeah.
actually it's not a whole bunch of stuff. It's not like a
Yeah.
complex, we don't have to use a whole bunch of like jargon or
Yeah.
figure it out.
Where they
It's
chuckle
just
a little bit.
a little bit of chuckle. What is this one? When you finish this
ChatGPT
building.
finished this build.
Yeah, it's nice. So we started to go pretty cheeky. Fonts matter. I will always find you.
Yep. That
Yeah,
fonts matter.
I'll have to get
Damn.
back to you
That's so good.
on the year.
The like kind of lighthearted, childish, loving versus creepy as fuck.
Mm-hmm. Oh my
So
gosh, have
good.
you heard of Cosmos, this app? Can you see my, let's see, can you see that? Yeah. Okay, so there is an app. Do you know about this, Cosmos?
Mm-mm. No.
Oh man, I'm such an app nerd. So it's
Yeah.
basically it's basically Pinterest, but like no ads, no likes, and no
Nice.
bullshit. So this is my For You feed,
Yes.
but like I love this is just my board of everything basically right now. I have no organization, but I'm
Yeah.
building a new brand and I'm like this is what's inspired the new brand. So
Nice.
um
I love
but
the cult vibes at the bottom. Like, what's going on
thank
there?
you. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you. Like this
Down
stuff.
here, and the one around the fire, and the one they're all holding hands in
See.
an S shape. What is this? What is the
Yes, this one.
inspiration? Like, what inspiration are you gathering from these cult vibes?
Okay, so you might need perspective. This is the app that we're building right
Context
now. So this
matters.
is what the
Okay.
output of that board created was
Okay.
the situation.
Sick.
Um, but it's we're calling it we're actually having an internal debate. I want to call it commune, but
Mm,
the team wants to call it commune. And so we're kind of debating the noun or the verb. And
okay.
so we're definitely theming it around like communes, but it might be
Yeah.
called commune. I'm not quite sure, but
Cool.
kind of
What's the
TBDing.
premise?
The premise is like so our team like for the ads lab, we basically communicated strictly on this app called Marco Polo
Yeah.
uh to
I used to
like
use it.
to build it, to
Yeah.
build the ads lab. We used that in Apple Notes. That was like our tech stack for the first 4 months. And so
Nice.
just async kind of walkie-talkie style video back and forth.
Yep.
And I still use it with Matt a lot and with Joel. And it's this app that I realized like I've been using this for over 10 years. I
Wow.
talk with a lot of my family in the app. And at the same time, like a lot of times I have like a second brain tool that I use to take notes and to record audio messages, and it saves my thoughts, and
Yeah.
it's called Reflect. And I use that because it's end to end encrypted to like offload all of my thoughts and then think
Mhm.
about them over time. And I might use them to write stuff or to make content or whatever, or just to like have a journal. And I realized like we could probably build our company and like not have to use Slack and all of this extra stuff if Marco Polo was like end to end encrypted and then it automatically created like a second brain for the business if all we did
Mm,
was talk asynchronously all the time. And so we've been
wow.
building this app for like a month, and in the basic hypothesis is like an end-to-end encrypted app so that we can't see anyone's data, and they can truly put anything they want on it. And
Yeah.
the data is like really like portable for the user. So when you talk, you have a timeline of all the things you said to all the different people that day. You could copy like the whole day's conversations with a
Nice.
button, or like copy one thing you said. Kind of Loom style, like it's easy to get transcripts, because
Yeah.
another issue with Marco is like I'll offload like in all of the best thoughts that I have in this 10-minute video. And in order to like get it, I'll have to download the video to my phone and I have to upload it to Loom, and then I have to download the transcript, and then I have to paste it into my second. It's like I use like
Yeah.
4 tools. And
Yeah.
so we're
Too
kind
much.
of building it for our team's communication so that we can be like async video back and forth first, because we're all in different time zones. And then we just automatically have kind of my custom outputs that I built in my like second brain tool now, which is like kind of like sub-bulleted like summary transcripts. And I also have like reflections sort of set up, and
Nice.
that's kind of it. It's kind of like
That's super
async
cool.
in, second brain out.
I love that. How big is the team now?
For that project, it's me, Matt, Anish, and Joel right now. So Anish
Cool.
is kind of new to the team. We've been friends for a long time. He's my developer friend, and
Nice.
we've built things together. But he hasn't really been a part of like our ads lab
Mm.
noontide
Yeah.
setup for until this. So it's kind of fun.
Cool.
I just felt like it was one of those things that I've been talking about with Matt for like over a year. And somewhere in the last like 3 or 4 months, like building momentum, the app for the ads lab people,
Hmm.
just realized like, oh shoot, we could like build that other thing that's like a moonshot for all people in the world that could use it. And so we're gonna launch it to like businesses, and then
Hmm.
expand out to like families too, and people
Nice.
that just kind of want to own their thoughts, and have like an archive of their communication with their people. So
Yeah. That's rad. Have you used Replit at all?
yeah, I used
Yeah.
Replit really, really early on to build
Mhm.
the prototype to give to Anish and sell
Cool.
him on like being an official
Nice.
like member.
Nice.
I used Cursor and used Bolt and Lovable. I think I mainly use Cursor now because the whole team uses it to build
Mhm.
stuff. But Replit's pretty freaking sweet. Like,
Yeah. I haven't played around with it too much yet. Honestly, like just discovered it with listening to that podcast episode. I was like, who is
ah,
this guy? And like, what's he got going on?
man, the
And
people that
then
run those companies are so fascinating.
it's wild bananas. I found out like, so my fiance is a graphic designer, and I was kind of doing some rebranding stuff for NursePreneur Lab and then NursePreneur Accelerator. So I found out we got the logos for both of those just through, I mean, you can like search, a crazy amount of logos and then just go through pages and pages of like fun logos and get inspiration and ideas. So we got the idea for these two logos, and then I saw one of them was like one of Replit's logos for kind of like a byproduct that it has. It's not like the
Mm,
Replit logo, but
mm-hmm.
they have a bunch of logos next to all of their different like things. I think it's the logo for Agent. I was like, oh
Mm.
no, we have the
Oh
same.
shoot.
We have the same. Yeah. So we're like, should we change NursePreneur Accelerator's logo? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how big Replit gets. Maybe if it gets big, we might have to change it because
Are
it'll be
you
like,
are you you know that they're pretty big,
I
Micah.
know.
They're pretty
I know.
but if you're
So
not gonna
he
be in
talked
their
about
space, it doesn't
yeah, he
matter.
he talked about their revenue a little bit in the podcast episode, and I was like, oh shit, you guys are a big company.
Oh yeah, that is similar now that I'm looking at it. It's not exact though.
Yeah,
I feel like
the
you got
purple one,
enough. Oh shit, your accelerator is exact.
the purple one is the
Oh.
accelerator, but it's the accelerator is the blue and yellow. I don't know where we found those logo. I mean, my partner being a graphic designer, she has access to all of these different tools where she pulls inspiration for logos and branding projects and things like that. So she knows how to like dig into all of that. And I think one day we were just like going through some of them, and we are
Mm-hmm.
like, what about this like logo batch? And it was several different logos, but all kind of variations of each other, if you will. And so we picked those two for NursePreneur Lab and NursePreneur Accelerator. And I mean, I'd never seen it before up until this week. And I was like, oh my God, it exists on the internet elsewhere. But you know what? Nothing is original. That's what the sign says behind me. This,
Oh, that's what the sign says. Okay.
yeah, you can't see, it's blurred out, but it
Steal
says
like an
nothing is original.
artist.
Exactly. And I really believe that there's nothing that exists that somebody hasn't thought of or done already.
Mm. Matt always is like, Matt's a firm believer in the ideas that are going around or like in the air,
Hmm.
and when we're thinking and building stuff, it's like it's because those ideas are like actually in the field of energy that we're all like a part of,
Yeah.
and even like without communication or consuming the same technological tweets, we will
Yep.
still kind of have the same ideas. What do you think, Micah?
Crazy, huh?
Yay or nay?
Yeah, there's a book, what is it? The big idea, I don't remember. It's about that though.
Hmm.
It's not called The Big Idea. Big
Oh, is
Magic?
it?
Big
Oh yeah,
Magic.
big magic. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's about
She
that. Okay.
she talks a lot about that, like how
Mm,
ideas are not our own. It's just that the first person to kind of like grab it and bring it in is like considered the owner of it, but like who owns ideas, you know? It's just
yeah.
like we've been given inspiration. She actually talks about this story. She like had this idea for a book, found the book, like found somebody who wrote the book, like almost character by character type of thing, like super, super weird. The entire premise, the plot twist, the characters, everything was like the same shit she was thinking about writing. And I think they ended up meeting up, like her and the
Mm,
actual author of the book. And I think that's where she kind of got this idea for, big magic is like nobody owns ideas. We're just given these inspirations and we bring them to life in whatever medium we choose. But it doesn't mean that it's ours, it just
mm,
exists. It just is.
mm. Where do those ideas come from, Micah?
The the consciousness that runs through all of us, that is maybe the code, but is also maybe not code. I play around a lot with the idea of what consciousness really is. I see it as like a kind of like a river that runs through everything. We're all like connected to it somehow, but who knows what it really is underneath our weird fleshly meat suits that we walk around in.
Mm. Are you like a conspiracy theorist, Micah, by chance? Do you consider yourself
I don't think I am, but I think other people would say I am.
most conspiracy theorists would in fact say that, so I will consider
Exactly.
you a conspiracy theorist. Okay. What
Damn,
about
guilty
like
as charged.
what about the whole alien situation with, so we got the DMT situation, we got the alien situation, we've got the consciousness situation, we've got the code, we got the matrix.
Yeah.
Connect all these things for me, Micah, so that I understand how they connect.
Well, okay. I mean, you talked about the machine elves, these
Mm-hmm.
beings that a lot of people experience when they are under the influence of DMT. And for whatever reason, when we are in this kind of alternate headspace that is influenced by these psychedelics, we have very similar visuals and very similar experiences. And people will come out of those experiences and report back that they saw these kinds of creatures and they'll explain these creatures. And then they'll eventually find out that a lot of people that experience DMT have also experienced these same exact creatures and would describe them the same way. And so it makes me wonder, like, is there a way that we are tapping into a parallel reality that exists, but we can only experience if we're kind of pulled out of our biological form, since our biology is what limits our perception? So, if we are kind of pulled out of that into an alternate reality that maybe DMT is being used as a technology to communicate with us with, maybe that's like another reality where consciousness is also being expressed, but not in human biological form, or not even in this reality's form, you know, not as a frog or a monkey either, but like as some kind of weird alternate space and time reality. So I don't know, like part of me is like, I think that could be the case. I also think like maybe not, you know, maybe we just all
Mm-hmm.
conjure up these same kind of visuals. What's weird to me is that people will have like never heard about another person's experience with DMT, have their own experience with DMT, and then have, you know, these visuals and talk about it publicly and then realize, oh, a lot of people have had this experience, but it's not like they knew about it beforehand, which, you know,
Mm-hmm.
construed their perception or reality.
Yeah.
How it connects with aliens, I'm not sure. You should definitely listen to that episode with the replicant guy and the evolutionary
Mm.
biologist, because he talks a little bit about, you know, like the potential for other life form to exist if this is like an infinite reality. Like, how could it not? And he talks about maybe aliens have put us in like a bubble where we only like experience us and we can't experience anything else. Kind of like a, I don't know if you've heard the parable of like two fish are swimming along and they come across an older fish, and the older fish is like, "How's the water, boys?" And they're like, "What the hell's water?" And
Mm.
it's the whole idea of like, you don't know that you're living in water if you've never experienced anything outside of water.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe it's,
Yeah.
he brings up, you know, the point of like, maybe we're living in a reality that we're only experiencing because it's all we've ever known, and we haven't gone out into other parts of space where other forms exist. But I don't know. I have a lot of ideas about things, none of which I'm attached to.
Yeah.
I grew up in a cult, and this is a fun fact about me. I
Mm.
grew up in a cult, and I had, like, the environment that I was raised in is very much so like a rigid form of thinking and a very rigid worldview, where it's like the world is this way, everybody else is wrong, and everybody else, because they're wrong, is going to hell and they're going to be eternally tortured and burned forever, type of thing. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I grew up in that environment. I've obviously changed my mind quite a bit from the time that I was raised in that. I have a very different worldview now. At the same
Is
time,
that like evangelical Christianity?
yeah, but like a very radically like controlling, manipulative form of it.
Mm-hmm.
A very specific like group of churches. That's, you can research it later. It's called the ICOC, but
Mm.
it's a pretty intense environment, and they did a lot of pretty whack stuff when I was growing up in that culture.
Mm.
But one thing that I learned from growing up in an environment like that, where people think very, very strongly and have very rigid opinions and really believe everything's black and white, you know, I learned a lot about that way of thinking. And I've also come a long way from that way of thinking, where now I go through the world very much with like loose attachments to anything. Like, I don't feel very attached to any of my beliefs or ideas or anything like that, because I've changed them so many times, and I've also lived in a headspace where like I genuinely would have died on so many hills, and like everything was black or white and things were right or wrong, and it was just that clear to me. And then I've like changed my mind. Like, I was fully convinced of one way of seeing things and believing the world is, and now that I don't anymore, it kind of makes me think like, why would I ever get too attached to any worldview ever again? Because I very much could change my mind again and again and again. I've changed my mind like trillions of times on things that I believe. So I'm just not too attached to anything, any of my conspiracies or any of that. I'm like,
Yeah.
I hold on very loosely to.
Mm-hmm. A lot of stuff, but for one, a while ago, I found this book on Amazon called The Illustrated Field Guide to DMT Entities. And I thought it might be
Wild.
fun to ask you if you've
Wild.
experienced any of these guys firsthand,
You know
because
what's
it's pretty
interesting?
great.
I have whoa. Okay, hold on. Zoom in on the really colorful guy.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Oh,
weird.
it switched pages on me.
That's okay.
There we go. That's as far
Yeah.
as. There we
Yeah.
go.
Okay. Yeah. I see things like that sometimes. but
Yeah.
they're weird and like noodly. I don't know how to explain it. They're very like limby, and their limbs are constantly like
Mm.
moving weird, and they're almost like a structure of a noodle. Like I don't know how to explain it.
A
But the
noodle.
last
Okay.
I don't, I've not done DMT that many times. And to be honest, I have a really hard time going into it. I have a really, really, really bad cough reflex. So it's typically
Mm.
very challenging for me to actually
Mm-hmm.
like fully send into the experience. But the most recent time that I've gone into the experience more deeply than just sometimes like in the mornings, I'll do it to like calm my mind and be able to just let go of things. It really helps me to let go of certain things and come into a state of stillness and calm. So I almost like microdose DMT, if you will. But
Yeah.
anyways, outside of microdosing, I I had this experience. I was going through like a really stressful time. And I was like, oh my God, like so much is happening. My life is in shambles. I had like a lot going on with some tenants in one of my rental properties, just a lot of stupid shit that like very surface level stuff, but I was really affected by it. And I was like, all right, I need to like get myself out of this state. I was actually guiding a client through a DMT session. And then after they left, I was like, you know what? I actually need this for myself. I'm gonna like put on this like chant that I have done really deep meditations with before that has like sent me somewhere else. And I was like, I'm gonna put that on and just go into the experience and just sit with this for a second, sit with the discomfort, see what comes up. So I did, and I went into kind of like this alternate world. These creatures, very noodly creatures, kept pulling back these layers of like reality, and they kept being like, don't you see how beautiful it is? Like, don't you see how much fun this is? Don't you see how this is all just play and it's meant to be enjoyed and you're meant to experience it with like a lightheartedness? And they just kept saying like, it's play, go have fun, it's play. And I was like, oh my God, like I've been taking life so seriously. And like what's crazy is I've actually recently I was hanging out with Goose. He was staying over at our place. We have a guest bedroom here, and he stayed over here. Yaya stayed over here. Sometimes we have people hang out with us in our guest bedroom. He was staying over with us, and we ended up going to this like cigar lounge to meet up with Max Prison and their mastermind group. And one of the people that was there at the mastermind group had the same experience with DMT. Actually, maybe it was Goose that had the same experience with DMT that I did. And that was like another moment of like, holy shit, that's what you experienced. That's what I experienced when I did my trip. And I was like, that's
Mm.
crazy. But essentially, it was like creatures in another reality telling us to go play. Like, and they had the
Mm.
same exact experience, like having creatures telling them to go play. But it reminded me like I was taking life really seriously. Nothing was like in shambles. Like I was still okay, you know. I ended up like walking along the beach that night and later like was doing cartwheels and stuff in the grass. Like I felt so much lighter that
Mm-hmm.
evening. Like it was crazy how much I feel like I released just going into that experience and being told like you're taking things too seriously, just go play. And it really did shift a lot for me. And I remember that like that I don't know if I want to call it that visual that experience. Like I remember it
Mm-hmm.
often when I'm getting really like hung up with certain
Mm-hmm.
things that probably don't matter that much but feel really big and heavy at the time. So I've
Yeah.
experienced those creatures, but I to be honest, I've never experienced the machine elves, but so many people have. And I watch a lot of like
Yeah.
YouTube videos on this stuff too. I'm like kind of nerdy
Terrence
about
McKenna
yeah.
listening at night kind of
Yep.
stuff.
Yep.
I sometimes will listen to Terrence McKenna and hear out some of the things that he has to say. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like the psychedelic experience stuff is interesting because like I grew up like actually evangelical and
Mhm.
then was like no, it's not for me. And I actually feel like I have a similar like take on like not there's not really like any belief system for me. I feel like it's just the stuff that I know, and then there's no beliefs. It's just the stuff that I know, and like beliefs
Yeah.
aren't really a thing anymore.
Hmm.
It's just like I definitely was there like during the birth. I definitely remember. I definitely know some stuff because of what happened then, and then
Yeah.
there's like I've tripped a few times on things, and those times have been informative.
Hmm.
And then there's like moments in life, but I do think that the serious versus play stuff, like for me, I realize like I'm really tight in my face every like few months,
Hmm.
and then I need to like I feel like I like have gotten serious again, and I have to like completely come back down, and like
Yeah.
I notice it because like I can't really have like my own thought. It's like I've
Mhm.
looked at too many things, taken in too much information,
Yeah.
like made more money, and like
Yeah.
I've grown more things, and my face is super tight,
Yeah.
and it's I'm like all or nothing. Like I can't find
Yeah.
balance. Like it's not even ever happened
Yeah.
where
That's so
I am
interesting.
I can like completely relax and also output whatever I need to output to live in the world. It's like I usually completely fuck off and disappear, or I'm like so focused that I have like headaches and my family's like, "Are you still in there?"
Yeah.
It's like really hard for me. And so I
Yeah.
honestly think there's this subtle part of me that set hanging up out to chill out and find people that like probably feel the same based on just energetically knowing I think we're dealing with the same shit.
Yeah.
I feel like there's been a thread. Um,
Yeah. That's really interesting. My jaw gets kind of tight. If I'll feel it here, kind of. And
hmm
that's always interesting to me. I'm like, ooh, yeah, it's coming back. The jaw thing is coming back. And
Yeah.
remember, I got to like release some stuff. I'm actually going to get a massage after this, which would be nice because I don't know.
Yeah.
I have something like it's always in my left trap. I don't know why, but that's
Mm.
like where it always exists. And sometimes if I'm really like just focused and sending it, I'll feel it a lot more, like a lot more. I don't know if
Mm.
I'm like, it's because I am holding my shoulders a certain way or what, but I started feeling it more recently. And I'm like, yep, it's time. It's time to like do a little massage, a little self care, unplug for a minute, hang out like this, block
Yeah.
off more of my schedule.
It's good
It's important.
stuff. I think
Yeah.
it's really nice. It's really important to chill the fuck out.
Yeah.
I agree.
Maybe that's what the podcast should be called.
Just chill the fuck out. Yeah. I One of my favorite well, Matthew was the one that said like I should name it hanging out in the first episode. He was just called hanging out. It's like,
I
okay,
like it.
that's easy.
I like it.
That's what we're doing.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just like I don't know about you or the other people, but for me, it's like I definitely need to fucking hang out more. I
Hmm.
like there's something that there's something about like all the tools going back and forth between the quantity and quality stuff. It's like I love my obsessions and I can make money and I like working with my team and we have pretty good culture for like take care of ourselves first. But
Yeah.
without like an actual like I don't know, like break free, hang out or hang out with yourself, it just doesn't happen for me. I
Yeah.
just don't have an I automatically make time for my family, but I don't automatically make time for like myself. And I
Mm.
think yeah, I don't know if you can relate, but I feel like it has a lot to do with the way that I grew up, like in the like in the church setting, in the evangelical setting, in
Yeah.
the way that I kind of relied on people and stuff.
Yeah.
And I also think that the way that I kind of commit or don't commit to things now, it's just like
Yeah.
it's all from the same sort of couple years of
Yeah.
life. And yeah, I just don't have, I feel like I don't have control over my sort of day to day unless I schedule it like what you're like, I gotta schedule my
Yeah.
skateboard time.
Yeah, same. I have to be intentional about it, or like those things just don't happen, you know?
Yeah.
But I can definitely relate growing up in that realm. It's also like, I feel like there was a lot of messaging around like putting other people above yourself all the
Mm-hmm.
time. That
Yeah.
like it, yeah, it was almost like demonizing, actually taking a step back and caring for yourself. Anytime somebody did that, like the environment I was raised in was kind of crazy. It was like I had to, turn in my schedule and like be told if I was making enough time for the church and all the events and stuff that
Mm,
we were doing, like that kind of stuff, like to the point that your schedule was controlled by other people at the top.
mm,
And I had a lot of friends like be publicly shamed and disowned, and then we weren't allowed to talk to them and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of other stuff that happened beneath the surface, but I think like, yeah, it was really weird messaging around like, if you had to miss a church event because you were trying to like focus on you for a second, or because you had so much going on that week that you're like, this is the only time I have to breathe. Or even if it was like for something academic, it would be like we got in trouble for that. It was like,
mm-hmm.
you can't miss these events, you can't miss church, that sort of thing. So I feel like sometimes I have this wiring that like I can't do things for myself if it means not being available for other people, or like doing stuff that other people need me to do, or just showing up, I guess. So it's a
Mm,
lot of unwiring, a lot of deconstructing that stuff, which I think I've done a lot of. At the same time, I believe that stuff can live with you, get stuck in there sometimes. That's why I like working with some of these unconventional modalities for pattern disruption, like psychedelics. It's
mm-hmm.
because they really do help get you out of like the stuff you get hardwired into if you use them right, of course. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people miss the key ingredient, which is actually applying new patterns and new habits and new beliefs and things like that while you
Mm,
are in a neuroplastic state. You're using the tools to get your brain into a more enhanced state of neuroplasticity so that you can apply something and your brain is actually receptive to taking in that new information. Whereas
mm,
before, your brain's really hardwired into the patterns that you develop over, decades. And so to
mm,
get it to accept any new information is generally really hard. That's why psychedelics can be a tool to allow it to do so when it's in a more neuroplastic state. But I think that's, something that's been a game changer for me, is like applying some of those new patterns in states of enhanced neuroplasticity and allowing myself to like live into the newness, but still hard.
mm.
Still see the lingering effects of the old programming and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I have a jar of psilocybin, but I've never done it. I've never done any. I've never done any mushrooms or DMT. Um, but I've considered it. I want to microdose,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know when to do it. I kind of feel a little bit like my day to day is like kind of overwhelming. I have a lot going on, and I'm trying to like cut things back and trying
Yeah.
to like tone down my stress levels. And I'm
Yeah.
like, will it help or will it be like the worst because I tried it at the wrong time? Like I don't know
Mm.
if now's the time. How
I
how
feel,
how do I decide when to when
yeah,
to try it?
I mean, I always recommend to people, if it is your first time, like start on a day you don't have too much going on, because you also just don't want to be paranoid, like when's it going to hit, am I going to be in the middle of a meeting, am I going to be in the middle of like something really important. You just don't want to be like carrying that paranoia. So I
Mm-hmm.
recommend like starting when you don't have too much going on, on a weekend, maybe on a Sunday. I don't know, something that's like, yeah, I don't usually do too much on this day.
Mm-hmm.
And start small. You can always take more. You can't take less after you've already taken it. So start really small. And most of the time, people don't really notice too much. It's more like subtle changes over time rather than changes in the moment if it's truly microdosing. You might
Mm-hmm.
notice like feeling more calm throughout the day, or maybe feeling a little more like clarity, things like that. But you shouldn't notice being in like a totally different state, you know, like you shouldn't be
Mm.
altered in that sense.
Yeah. I think that well, Matt does it sometimes. I don't know how often he does it, but I feel like if it's microdosing, like if I'm like overworked, like do you use it for work ever, or do you use it outside of work typically, or
I
both?
personally do, yeah, I have like kind of different intentions depending on where I'm at. But I've also had people like come into my program and go through my microdosing program for more like clarity, focus, creativity, like being able to have new ideas surface and being able to like focus and have more clarity with their work stuff. Like I've had people come into it for that purpose. And I've definitely used it for that as well. But then there have been other times where it's like, I want to chill, I want to unplug, I want to feel really connected to nature and just like go sit in the grass for a while. And like I've used it for that too. And
Mm-hmm.
it's cool because it's like it can be all of those things. And of course, you can play around with like other functional supplements to piggyback off of psilocybin to either enhance some of the more like focus enhancing, clarity enhancing aspects of it, or you can use supplements that can enhance more of the like calming aspects of it. Like ashwagandha is one that
Mm-hmm.
can tend to like be calming and relaxing, magnesium too. And then you have some that contribute more to more focus and energy, which would be like B vitamins, like thiamine, and um, trying to think of others that have been used. Cordyceps, reishi can be used too. It's another functional mushroom. It's really good. Lion's mane is really good for focus.
Mm-hmm.
So you can kind of like stack some functional mushrooms with psilocybin to get different effects as well.
I didn't know that. I've got some like mushroom teas that are reishi and lion's mane, chaga, those types of things
Mm-hmm.
that I drink pretty regularly, and I'll have to keep that in mind.
Do it.
I'll have to keep that in mind. I'm pretty lightweight when it comes to like cannabis.
Mm.
Like I do it maybe every year or so,
Yeah.
and I just do like a edible and that's it. And I'm very sensitive, so I'll take like 2.5 milligrams and that's it.
That's me.
And yeah, and
That's
it's
me.
like lay in a bed, stare at the ceiling, think about
Yep.
some things. I might maybe listen to Bon Iver's self-titled 2012 album. I don't know,
Nice.
but
Maybe this exact album I'll listen
yeah,
to.
maybe I'll maybe listen to that. Might loop it because it perfectly loops. I don't know,
It
something
might
like that.
play for 6 hours on end. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know, but it's been yeah. My first like wild experience was I went camping and somebody brought like brownies, like cannabis brownies.
Hmm.
And this was a while ago and it was in California, but it was like 2000 and I don't know, 15 or 16 or something. And we all took like 200 milligrams each. We didn't know
Jesus.
until after the weekend how much cannabis was in them, but she miscalculated and we all like just lost our minds at this campsite. And
Oh my
like
God.
I remember at one point I was like walking down the street and I looked at this tree and it had a whole bunch of eyes and I was like, "Hey, tree." And I talked to this tree for like hours, just me and the tree. And
Hey,
then it was really it was very psychedelic. We got stuck in the
that's
car
wild.
for a long time
What do you mean you got
and
stuck in the car?
like we couldn't figure out how to get out of the car. Like we all were saying we decided it was safer in the car, so we were like sitting in the car and hanging out and we closed the doors. There's like four or five of us, and yeah, we were in this car for an hour or so. What felt like a really long time, but we were all like talking about how it was outside the car. At one
Oh,
point, like the water was in the car, like we were all getting dry mouth really bad, but it was in the trunk, and like we were like, who's gonna go?
you
And
can't get out.
and I
Whoever
remember
gets out is risking their lives.
risking their lives at this little campsite. Um, so I practically got lost trying to get it, going to the trunk and back, and it was super wild. I remember I went in the
Damn,
tent.
you were stoned. Holy shit.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I went in the tent and I died like 40 times. Ashley's like laying next to me, and I'd come back and I'd be like, okay, so let me tell you about like how like what's going on with homelessness, and I'd be like, okay, I'll be back later, and I would I'd fall into these crazy circumstances. I remember the next day was just like the best day of my whole life. We got up and I was like,
Wow.
wow, it's like the sun is out and the world isn't moving
You're like,
really
I
fast.
survived that
Yeah.
night.
We were like, well, should we rent a boat and go out on the lake today? That was the plan. But yeah,
Wild.
that was my first weed experience, I think, overall. That was the first
Wow.
one. So that was like,
Wow.
I did that and I was like, wow, that's weed? Like, holy crap. These people
That's
are crazy.
crazy. That's wild. That's like yeah, the like next day, it's like you almost had a near death experience, and then the afterglow that comes with that.
Yeah, it was definitely an afterglow. I remember, okay, I remember remembering more and more. It's kind of fun to try to remember this. It's been a while. But at one point, Ashley starts puking in the tent, and I'm next to her, and my friends are in the tent next to me, and I see her puking, but I can't move, and I'm like, guys, Ashley's puking, and I can't help her, and so like they come over, and I'm like just like watching, and I'm like can't move at all, and she's like puking, and I'm like don't let her die because she's puking, and I was afraid she was gonna like die on her own puke because we had watched Breaking Bad recently,
Oh my
and so like
God. Don't let her
we
die.
we get out of the tent and she's puking and my friends are helping her. Actually, my best friend who's there is in this like perfect state of mind. He like he's like in this sweet spot at this point, and
Yeah.
he's like I meant to do this, and he's just like helping, and he's in this perfect state. And I get outside and I'm starting to like get my body back, but I'm not like able to help. And so I started like smacking myself in the face because I'm like I need to get back to reality. And so I'm like smacking myself in the face, like trying to become a human again. And I remember that too. I just remember just remembering in the middle of the night,
That's
that
so
also happened.
intense.
Just
That's so intense.
just the first cannabis. That's not how cannabis is overall for me, but
No, I mean
that
not at all for
was
most people, but I guess if you take
yeah,
if you take that much, yeah, I
yeah,
guess you kind of go into I mean there is cannabis induced psychosis, like that's a real thing. Actually, I
yeah.
think it's becoming more common because the THC levels
Mm,
in all of these different, like gummies and stuff like that. I mean, it is wild. The levels are crazy. I mean, compared to like, 20, 30 years ago, it just wasn't this way. So
mm,
now it's becoming like more and more common that people have cannabis induced psychosis, like genuine paranoia and stuff like that, that comes from just getting too high, which is
yeah,
crazy. Sounds
yeah.
like you were
And
on the verge of that.
I think we hit the verge. I think
Maybe
at
you
that
were
point.
maybe you were there. Maybe you hit the threshold.
At one point, Ashley was totally out of her mind. She couldn't hear me at all, but I was explaining to her like how schizophrenia worked, like at 2 in the morning, and she's like just like sleeping, and I'm
She's sleeping, you're going on and on.
looking back the next day, I was like, man, I was explaining how I was insane in this moment, and I'm like, let
Yeah.
me tell you how I think this works. Um,
Let me tell
it
you
was
about
super.
insanity.
Let me give you it. Let me show you. Let me draw this up for you on a diagram.
That's so
Yeah,
good. That's
I
so good.
was
She's zonked out, just snoozing, and you're
she's
like on a
super out.
4 hour long monologue, just getting it.
That's totally how it was. Every now and then she'd wake up, I'd be like, "Oh, you missed it. I was talking about this thing," and then I would go out of it and come back.
And every idea feels like, you've just discovered something that you should get a Nobel Prize for, sort of thing.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you
I've,
you know it all, but you can't tell anyone or explain it.
yeah, you
Um,
can't. That's the craziest part. You're like, I know some like really crazy truths about the world, but I cannot explain it to you.
yeah,
I've actually had a lot of moments like that. And then you like come out of it, you're not high anymore or whatever. And you're like, that was crazy. That was so silly. But you really do feel like you've solved like the
yeah.
earth.
I have this like whenever I get high. So I feel like I've gotten, I've dialed it in over the years and gone through phases where I'll be doing it more regularly, and then I won't do it for a while. And so I've had like a lot of experiences that are good and some more kind of bad trip style cannabis times.
Hmm.
And for me, I feel like I have like a hyper awareness of like people, and or maybe I just fixate on people,
Hmm.
and then I'm like really honest too.
Yeah.
So I've actually like I've had a lot of bad times when I get high with friends because I'll be like, you're like a shitty friend. I'm like, this is why. So when we walked in today, like when you did this thing, you looked at me. It's like they'll be like, Jesus Christ, and then I'll do
That
that.
look you gave me, that was
Yeah,
that was you being a bad friend.
yeah. I'll like unpack it. And I'm like, this is your problem. And if you don't want to know this, but like I can see this and I can't not say it because I like lose control over
The
my
filter's
senses.
gone.
If I take too much, like I won't stop talking about the things that I'm
Yeah.
seeing, and
Yeah.
that's the big issue. And so yeah, I for me it's like I can kind of, oh man, just like I can't like not give everybody all the information when I'm very high.
You need to know this.
You have to know this.
I have had those experiences. I think my very first time taking mushrooms was actually like that. And we kept saying, like, we've got to record ourselves talking about these things because this is literally like going to solve all the world's problems. Like, you're so convinced, that like
Hmm.
you have just mastered everything. And like, we kept trying to like record ourselves talking about these things, but of course it like never comes out right. And you're like, no, that's not it. Like, no, we're not capturing it. Like, it's so funny how like our brains do that. But I was like fully convinced that I was the contents of a taco. Like
Hmm.
100% convinced that I was
Damn.
inside of a taco just shooting the shit with some avocado that was like laying next to me. I was like, what the fuck is happening?
Well, how
This
do you
is
know that you weren't? Like, do you think you were looking back?
maybe it was. Maybe I entered another reality where I actually am the contents of a taco.
Do you have a recording where you're like in the state of taco mind?
I don't think so. That'd be so funny. I should check. Maybe we did
I've
record some of
recorded
that
a
then.
couple high times with a few friends too with similar feelings like it's our duty to get this.
That would
We owe
probably
this to the world to
that'd
get
probably
this
be
on
a really
tape.
good like podcast. Just like in general, like a podcast where all the episodes are just you being like really high with a friend. Either really high or like tripping, and like just see what comes up. And like every episode is
Hmm.
that. That'd be kind of a
Hmm.
wild premise for a podcast show.
Yeah.
That'd be cool though.
I bet you there's some comedian types that have this as a layout we could
Yeah.
find. We could,
You'd have to commit to like, getting super high every week, but
yeah. But for the greater good, you might have to you might have to do that for the
we could do it.
world.
We could commit.
You could, if you sometimes you have to make hard decisions in life. It's one of those things where you have to,
Compromise.
hmm, for the for the betterment of society.
Yep. Yep. Those are moral dilemmas, but sometimes you got to do it.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I think with that,
Good shit.
we're gonna have to call this one. It's been very fun, and I really appreciate you hanging out with me on this fine
Same.
Thursday.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging. This has been fun. We talked about a lot of crazy stuff that doesn't usually come up on podcasts, but I'm glad it did.
Well, thanks, Micah. It's been real. I'll see you next time.
Yeah. Thanks a bunch. Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.